Hi, everyone. Welcome to At Home Artist Project. Thank you for joining us this week. I'm Jacqueline, and we are so excited to have you all here. This week, we're doing At Home Artist Poetry Night. And so, people you see on screen here are graphic designers and poets that we've been working with this week. We asked them to come together, and we asked that our poets give our graphic designers a poem that they had written, either orally or in written form. And then we asked our graphic designers to go away and come up with an illustration or design based on the poem that our poet had given them. So that's a little bit about the project we've got going on tonight. A little bit about At Home Artist Project. We are a collective of artists cultivating new work while at home and creating new work in the virtual space. If you're interested in supporting the work you see here tonight, that includes the artist on screen here, as well as the August Wilson African American Cultural Center in Pittsburgh. Please consider donating by going to our PayPal or our Eventbrite using the buttons below or on our support page on our website. Every dollar makes a difference, and we are so happy that we get to funnel that money directly back to artists and to cultural institutions who we think could also use the support at this time. So thank you so much for that. We're glad that you are all here this evening. I've explained a little bit about our project, who we are, our project this week. So I will give a quick intro to the artists we've got here. Tonight, we've got Nina Oteria, who is our poem. Hi, Nina. And she is paired with Ivan Pottersmith. Hi, Ivan. Great. We've also got, oh, I'm sorry. She is not paired with Ivan. This is a live performance. Don't we love it? Nina is paired with Catherine. Hi, Catherine. Good to see you. Apologies. Ivan is our graphic designer who is paired with our lovely Paloma. Hi, Paloma. Hello. And then we've got Shelby, who is paired with Janice there. Hello, Shelby. Hello, Janice. And we've got Dazea. We're so happy she's going to be here to perform her poem tonight. Unfortunately, her graphic design partner could not be here, but we're going to show her work and do our best to give her some good credit where deserved. All right, so we've had a good intro. Thank you all for being here. Let's go ahead and get started. The first pair of work that we'll be seeing is coming from Dazea and Maddie. Without further ado, please enjoy Dazea's poem.
All right. Thank you for that introduction. I really appreciate that. The poem that I'm going to read tonight is going to be called Love, and it's going to talk a lot about the relationship between us and nature and God and how love connects. Okay. I imagine this is what love would look like if it was tangible. If you could look up at the sight of that second between nightfall and a long day and feel the soft kiss of a sunset along every inch of your body. A slight dew blowing against your hips. Only thing wetter than you might be the ocean as it drags the sand leading to your soul. Like a soul tie, your soul's tied to four corners of the bed as you wait for the sun to come back up and kiss you. If love could ever forget, I think it would never wish to. Like the tide at nighttime, it'd rather resist the gravitational pull, intensity, intensified, intensifying, as each wave comes crashing across your behind, feeling pulls from behind while you look back at every deep sleep you've ever had lying in that bed. Reflecting on every detail, every note, and every memory. You spent centuries looking for love as if it was something you could ever see. Most people describe it as a feeling, but what's a feeling compared to connection? Still connecting, still connected, perfect views of the ocean side while you're undressing and there's simply no resentment. If love was tangible, it'd probably pull you down, drown you in that position you can never catch your breath in, or along the same shore where you are sure that you would climb higher than any climax any guy ever gave you. Love would tell you are crazy for not remembering that, for not remembering that the views of the next morning as you turn on your side and welcome in that sunrise will always feel better. Better than those secret nights when you listen for the sunset and when you wish you would have enjoyed it a little longer before it left because it's only a few seconds between the nightfall and that long day. And I think love knows that it would live longer in the tangible ring. It knows that if you could ever grab onto it, it'd sting you. A painful pleasure, pain for pleasure. In this life, pain is pleasure. And when did we decide this? Does it feel safe to welcome suffering for satisfaction rather than grabbing onto love and euphoric efforts? Love would be ashamed if it could feel, but I imagine this is what love would look like if it was tangible. Like sunsets, good sex, and self-elevation. Its career would be reinstating a means to not just feel love, but to walk in it, encouraging that we stop thinking love loses or gets lost. It's omnipresent in every essence because, well, God is love. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Dazea, for sharing that with us. I really like the idea of love being a tangible thing and of love being something that we can see and describe and feel. And you use some really beautiful imagery with ocean waves, ocean water. I'm it's unfortunate we can't have Maddie here right now, but she's done such a beautiful job with that illustration. And I was wondering if you had just any immediate thoughts about what she came up with in terms of your poem.
I can read you something that I sent her to help her kind of understand the poem. So I told her that the whole idea was to personify love, to make love a person instead of a feeling. And I said that I feel as though a lot of the times as people, we create fantasies or we falsify love in a way that it might lose its genuine selflessness. And so the goal was to connect all of the purest forms, God, nature, and love itself, and try to make it a person, you know, kind of approach it in that way so that we can learn to build that connection between our spirit, ourselves, and in the world around us.
Thank you so much. And that's such a deep kind of description of love and how we can go about thinking about it. I can't wait to talk about that more. I'm sure that'll be a recurring theme throughout some of our poems. So we're excited to jump into that at our Q&A at the end. Thank you so much. I did want to say to our audience, I forgot to say in the beginning, please feel free to leave comments in the teal comment box below. Following the performances, we will be doing a live Q&A with our audience members and their questions. We'll be answering the questions and comments that you're leaving for us in the box below. So please don't be shy, drop some comments there, and we'll be happy to address them afterwards. Thank you again, Dazea. And so next we are going to move on to our next pairing, and that is going to be Catherine Sharpless. We'll be seeing her graphic design, and Nina Arteria will be performing her poem for us. Thank you so much, guys.
Glad to be here, beaming in with you. I'm going to read a 4-part poem or piece called Letting Go. Part 1, Portal. In a dream, you could do that. Hug someone you haven't seen in years without crying. You could feel like you still lived in your old bedroom. You could go back to before, like nothing, like magic, like the reverse of water down the drain. I wish I could have said what I wanted to then, but I was trying to hold back the wind from my cheeks. The minute stretches long, then time splits me into colors. Suspended in time, we spin leaves before they hit the ground. Let's dance in front of the garage. Let's catch the frogs and the leaves and the neighbor's dog called Muffin. He sings in the yard to the cat called Cookie to come on home in a low melodic tone. Time ain't nothing anyway, just dirt on the rug. You can brush it out of the way with an eyelash, out of the way with a word. You can visit me somewhere impossible and grand, but I'll look for you in the dining room. At the cherrywood table, Sunday at 3. You know which chair, behind the hedges. I'll leave the garden light on for you. I'll wait as long as I need to. The land demands us as we were, innocent, loving, magnolia petal soft, pine pungent, resilient, like air. Part 2, Elegy. Love across 3 states. Diamond tested, a heart within a heart, clumsy, unbent, wishing for the lasting moment, nested 6 years, suicidal stupor, silent. We built across these 2 degrees, yes, debt of smoke, castles of air, escape, comfort, power magic. Spoken, our words climb, crest, and chant, able to change and to subvert. Now the road splits into diamond rivers. I can say that love was molten, given, without thought of expiration, shivers, drifting leaves, 6 splits in 2, forgiven. Part 3, Jules. The life that came before waves like the ocean. You waving from the porch as I back the car out between the daylilies and the purple cabbage. Rain, then smoke, not swayed by outer beauty. Diamond ring hidden in the city. I could see through the pocket watch. Some memories live in the blood, lifting a wooden spoon to my mouth. It's not unimportant who I was then. A lizard races by, green, then brown, slightly blue at the tail. Details soften with the persistence of memory. The elevator to the top floor we lived on in the seminary. The persistence hanging on the wall at the end of the hall. Dali, each day before opening the door, I would look at it. Ants gathering around the watch face. Together, sharing one small room without a bathroom or stove. Overlooking, we shared those things with many. Some months haunted. For 2 nights, the church appears in my dreams. She's stirring with a wooden spoon, diamond melting into glitter in the sun. Fire that breaks the ice of me, the restorer of streets, 2 wands, 6 cups, tea and the tall steeple. Open the door and here are the people. There where I trusted you for the first time, among the shifting, some mouths haunted. Part 4, lung. Sorrow, the spirit eye, a jewel moving, a map of the sun, determined, firm, born in love, embraced. Go inside. A dream of beauty, the secret ladder, a dream, the power of conjure I had known from childhood. I clung, not considered. I dreamed myself as an individual, collapse, filled with emotion too deep for words, a battle zone made good. Historical memory of the Southern experience. History then resides in people, unanswered and unanswerable. A greater power handed down. Lemonade, she had a pleasant, good-natured expression, drinks liberation, chooses to align, and in so doing becomes rainforest, deep purple, impenetrable green, seeking tenderness and vulnerability and love, not to be gained by pushing, love as tenderness and its absence. A greater power handed down must shift. Drumming and dancing and telling, hand in hand, morning flight, psychological migration, the open sea, a seafaring life. I want to explore further, be suspicious of real life, mastery of the patterns, the open sea on its final leg, love, a revolutionary catalyst. Jesus River transforms everything in its wake, immortal. Southern butterflies of vivid coloring hinted at in the reflection of the self, cirrus, mighty rivers at night in the wild space, soaring.
Hey, thank you so much, Nina. Oh my goodness. Wow. That was an entire journey you took us on. And Catherine, you illustrated it beautifully and touched on all 4 parts. How awesome that each of those kind of got their own individual section, their own individual story, and a visual to go along with that. So I'll keep it short in between performances, but I just wanted to ask, how was this experience for the both of you? Was there something particular about using this medium and then combining it with another medium maybe you wouldn't normally, that stuck out to you?
Catherine, I'll let you start if you want to.
Sure. This was a wonderful experience. Nina's poem is so beautiful. At first, I was a little bit lost, not knowing where my role was, considering there was so much powerful imagery in Nina's words. Getting to the last section of the poem and reading the line "mastery of patterns" got me thinking about memory as a pattern and about the stories we tell ourselves. And from there on, I just want to complement the moods and tones that Nina was creating, and I'm happy I got to work with her.
Very nice.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun seeing what Catherine came up with. The portal design that she made, the very first one, actually looks really similar to a painting that I made of the same name. Just sort of like the flip side of the color. So actually, even the way it's kind of like waving, almost like water, really mimics something that I also made. So I really like that pattern came through, and I like the movement and all the pieces. Yeah, I think it conveys, like you said, the journey and the movement through everything. And I love the long, the fourth one as well, sort of like that movement around the center. So you did a great job, Catherine. And yeah, it was nice to read with y'all.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you so much. I think it's really cool that you said that you had done a painting that kind of emulates something that Catherine had done in her graphic design. It kind of shows that you guys were thinking along the same lines to begin with, and drawing from the same kind of imagery and inspirations from the words, which is really cool that it was able to communicate that to both of you. So I think that's a job well done and a good measure of success and communication. That's awesome. Thank you both so much. Okay, so we are halfway through our night. Thank you to all of our artists who have been participating so far and whom we've heard from. Again, please don't forget to support if you are liking what you're seeing here at our Eventbrite or our PayPal at the buttons below. We're going to keep the show moving and see our next graphic design and hear from our next poet. And our next pair is going to be Paloma and Ivan. So we'll let Paloma take it away with her poem.
So hi, I'm Paloma Sierra. I'm actually reading a poem titled Where There Was Fire, Ashes Remain.
Okay.
We dare not steer away our stare from our blurred, unsteered flames as we cover them with mire. We know fire's future is dire if it doesn't stare, blare, clatter, yet we seek not what we require. Shattered branches for heartbeats, we cross no words, only crossfire, fleeting away, afraid of flames, each time less heard, less felt. Where there is smoke, there's still fire. Thank you.
All right. Yay. Thank you, Paloma. It is totally okay. We are working in a new virtual age. This is a new digital landscape, and sometimes things like accidental mutings happen, and that is okay. This is, after all, a live performance. Since we're not getting the excitement of live theatrics right now, we sure are getting it here on Zoom. So we are so glad that we got to hear your poem. No biggie there. And Ivan, you had a beautiful illustration up while that was going on. Thank you so much. Would you guys like to say something about this collaboration and what it was like to combine poetry with graphic design?
Ivan, would you like to start?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. So first of all, I was really blown away by this piece, Paloma. I really loved your poem, and it really struck me in a personal way because of what we're all experiencing with COVID. It felt like something you wrote today, but I think it's so funny you wrote it in 2018. And so what I really loved about this piece was how you were exploring the sort of duality between this desire to march forward and to succeed and to do and to create this drive, but also this sort of melancholy and awareness of the passing of time and that things may be out of your control. But there's always a death and a rebirth. And so there was this imagery of fire and eyes and ashes, and I thought, I wanted to be optimistic in my piece, and so I wanted to portray these ashes after they had reignited, after the fire had come back, but with this knowledge that it could rain, that we don't quite know what the future holds. And that was what I really got out of your piece, was this power and this wisdom of what is and what isn't is not in our control. And so I absolutely loved your piece.
Thank you. I really like your piece too as well. It's very nice to hear from what Ivan just said. When initiating the collaboration with Ivan, I didn't tell him much about the poem. I just told him I think the poem is a metaphor. The poem, it's either a relationship or an identity. And it's very interesting to see how Ivan interpreted those words into this visual piece.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you both so much for sharing. I'm glad that it sounds like you both really connected to what was going on in both a very like visual and just sort of a passionate way where we're all understanding kind of what everyone is going through without actually ever having met each other or maybe even having had the same experiences. But it's things like this that maybe were written even a while ago that are still relevant and kind of help us find that common ground. So thank you both so much for touching on that so beautifully. Lovely, thank you. So that brings us to our fourth and final pair. I would like to welcome our last pair. Our poet will be Shelby Birch, and our graphic design will be coming from Janice Rabian. So please welcome Shelby and Janice.
Hi, everyone. Before I begin my piece, I would like to say thank you for this opportunity. Arrest the cops who killed Breonna Taylor. Protect Black people. Protect cis Black women. Protect trans Black women. So how does a Black girl become a Black woman? She reads Bell Hooks and Audre Lorde for the first time at 19 amongst white women in her Intro to Women's Studies class and feels uncomfortable, but not for herself, but for the white women, because for the first time, Black women are calling them out on their bullshit and not even their tears can cry them out of the situation this time. How does a Black girl become a Black woman? She doesn't read Bell Hooks or Audre Lorde because her body is a walking testament of their literature. Their language lingers in her ligaments, and she holds Kimberly Crenshaw in job interviews because her intersectionality will decrease her chances of getting that job based on her Blackness and her womanhood. But she still sits, posture on pretty, spined and neck boned up like grandma cooking in kitchens to feed her survival. And even though her name is supposed to be printed on that $20 bill, she knows that not even Harriet Tubman can make more than 67 pennies off of George Washington's dollar. How does a Black girl become a Black woman? She doesn't. She's just born one. Even before her 18th birthday, even before hips spread like butter in those jeans, the world grooms her to be grown, before she loses her innocence to groom her own Barbie. But the world ain't never played Barbie with no Black girl, only play her like poker, knowing she's gonna fold with the trash ass hand that you dealt her. But she's learned to perfect her poker face for Black jacks, how she struggles for Black men, lays her life in the garden beds of hospitals amongst doctors who watch her to wilt, as if her mortality is worth more than her existence, how she dies for her sons and watches her sons die, how she marches in picket signs, organizes the rallies and hashtags. Yeah, you still can't believe Zora Neale Hurston when she says that Black women are the mules of the earth, lugging your patriarchy around like baggage, but then you go on to gaslight the engines of our minds and how you can see racism, but not your own misogyny. And I know Black men just tuned me out because it sounds like I'm complaining. So how does a Black girl become a Black woman? She learns to shut up and pacify your ego the way she pacified you as a baby. But when will you get off of our nipples and suck up your own accountability? Show up for us without your male fragility. How does a Black girl become a Black woman? She secures the bag because she has to pay off the generational debt from slavery we are still suffering from. But y'all don't want to talk about reparations. All the things to use to remind her that the world don't owe her shit when the world actually owes her some shit. She takes up space with legs wide open, leaning in chair with no fucks to give, ratchet and respectable, twerks with her tongue out before Cardi made it acceptable, praise and piety, gives a middle finger up to society and loves herself fiercely. Thank you.
Wow. Okay. Thank you, Shelby. My goodness, that was heated. It was passionate. I could feel it from Brooklyn. Thank you. And this is another part of what we're trying to do with this platform is put the word out and hear from everyone. And we are so glad that we've got a great collection of artists with lots of things to say and show tonight. So thank you all for being a part of that. And Shelby, for your message as well. Again, let's start off with, how was it for the both of you collaborating with this medium?
Can I go first? This is my first time seeing the art. It is beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful, Janice. I love it. It's great. I have been doing poetry, spoken word poetry for over a decade, I think like 12, 13 years. And I have not had a visual artist interpret my poetry. So to see this, I'm just super flattered and honored that you took the time to really listen to my message and like dissect the words and really make it your own. And just a little bit about the background of the poem. I am an unapologetic Black queer woman, Black feminist. That is my politic. And I made that very clear when I delivered the poem to Janice. So I'm really glad that you really like took that. And this poem was inspired by all the Black feminist scholars, artists, academics, like everyone that has informed my politic and my passion and my art and my existence. So yeah, thanks Janice. And shout out to Jacqueline. We went to high school together. I haven't seen you since high school. Like, girl, it's good to see you.
I know, hey, and this project came up and I was like, I know who. And I'm so glad I called you. And even after 10 years, I'm like, man, she still got it.
Good to see you.
Janice, anything to say?
Thank you, Shelby. When you sent me the poem, listening to it and reading it, I was just like, it's just so powerful and it has such majesty to it. So I just felt very honored to be able to try to create some artwork inspired by it. We've both been to South Africa. You've been there with the Peace Corps. I was there not on such a noble cause. I was a tourist, but it was really great to have that connection that we shared. And a lot of this work was inspired by my best friend, Yvonne, who a lot of the themes and topics that came up in your poem we've been discussing for a long time, even before the quarantine. And she's a mother of 2 young Black boys. And so reading your poem, I was inspired by you and inspired by her.
Thank you.
Awesome. It's really touching to see that two such different experiences and like two such different lives were both so differently informed, and yet I think you both arrived at a really nice plane of coexisting with this graphic design, these words, this poem, and it ended up melding together so beautifully. So how awesome is it that artwork is kind of like it's kind of our universal language. It's one of the universal languages I think that everyone gets. And how awesome is it when we have, as many collaborations as we've had tonight that all kind of land in the same place without almost having any, former conversation about it, and to end up here and get that result. So thank you all so much. Let's go ahead and open it up to our audience questions for a short Q&A. We'd love to hear some more from our poets and other graphic designers, and we'll get rolling with comments and questions. All right. Awesome. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. So we'll get going. We heard a little bit about the experience of each of our pairs between performances, but I'd love to kind of get a group discussion going about maybe how everyone had like similar experiences or different experiences and how those really melded together and affected each other. So we'll go to the first question here. We've got one from Ty. Are the streams in the artwork meant to flow with the words? I'm curious about the movement component. Beautiful. It sounds like maybe this is a question for Catherine and Nina. I'm sure you could speak to the meaning of flow and movement in both your piece and in the design.
I will start, I suppose. Well, when I was creating the pieces, trying to build the right movement and make sure the speed was correct was important to how I was processing it. I tried my best to just, read and reread and think about what the tone and speed would be of Nina's words. Obviously, I didn't know for sure, but I think it, for the most part, worked out and matched the pace. And then as it was portrayed, there was a piece for each section of the poem.
Yeah, I feel like you really captured the flow of the words, or like the movement, like you said, because a lot of my work is very imagery heavy, and it's just you're swimming in a sea of a lot of images, but then anchored by sort of like the movement or like the rhyme or the flow of it. So I feel like that's what you really captured, was like the flow and the cyclical nature of like the way the rhythm was moving. So I really like that you had the movement component. I love to see how each of them also move differently. So it's sort of like that underlying pattern for each piece is different for each piece, but still similar, and like the tones and the colors that you used. Yeah.
Nice. I hadn't really thought about that, but you're right. The movement in all four pieces is kind of an overlying theme that weaves us through all of the movement that your words are giving us, Nina, and each of them came out a little bit differently, but all still kind of related. And how nice is it to see that played out visually? I actually had a question for you, Nina. What inspired the four parts of this poem? Was this meant to be kind of a linear situation, or more like you said, maybe loosely themed, but kind of kept together?
Well, I wrote all the pieces since I've been in quarantine. So Portal was the first poem that I wrote. And then I actually wrote Lung, and I made a painting that is a collage. It's lungs. And then within the lungs, I've collaged small words from a book that sort of author that I read. It's like about Black nationalism in the New World. And so I took a bunch of pages out of the middle of that, and I just cut out words and sort of created this collage. And the poem came after the collage and became excerpts from his words. So it's all borrowed text, but sort of chopped and remixed for that piece. And then the two middle pieces were the two that were written, just a couple of months ago. So Elegy was just written like last week, and then Jewels was written in April. So they're all pieces that I've written since I've been in quarantine. And so that theme of letting go is like the theme of letting go of the old world and the old way and all these changes we've been forced to with the elegy, and like mourning that, what's going on has to do with the lungs. It has to do with breathing. Jewels as like this beautiful thing that you want to hold to, but you're going through the portal. So what do you hold to? What beauty do you hold to? How do you mourn that? How do you let go? And then how do you, take care of your breathing and take care of your lungs? So that's sort of what I was thinking with the pieces and the whole compilation.
Wow, thank you. I think you've hit on something really important, and it's that we're all kind of trying to figure out how to step through this whole thing right now, and it is a loss. It's a mourning. It's grieving for things that used to be, things that are different, things that we don't have anymore. I'm sure everyone here and everyone watching has experienced some kind of loss throughout this, and it's been tough. And it's been hard to make artwork, but amazingly, we keep finding people like you who are here. You're doing it, and maybe that's your way of coping and of taking care of your own lungs. I know I certainly have been doing a little bit of artwork to take care of mine. And what I thought was very interesting was that your lung poem actually came from scraps of paper, which I don't think Catherine even knew that before she made her graphic design. But then that's how she ended up making her animation. So I just think it's really amazing that you both arrived at that, I guess, at that medium, or kind of a chicken and egg situation, but nice that they're kind of connected in that loop that way. I'll go ahead and actually open that question up to the floor, maybe to our poets. How has quarantine, being in quarantine, affected maybe your writing? I'd also love to know when the poems that you presented tonight were written. Was it before quarantine, during? I'd love to know. We'll open it up to the room. Whoever would like to unmute themselves first, go for it.
Yeah, quarantine has been pretty bittersweet for me creatively. I have written the most that I have written in a long time, and I don't write. I don't write frequently. I journal, but as far as doing full-length spoken word pieces, I might do maybe like 1 or 2 a year, and I've written like 3, and I think it's because this being home, like you have to pause. You have to pause, you have to stop. And a lot of people are thinking, thoughts are ruminating. A lot is happening in the world right now. So I think that there is a large spark of inspiration for a lot of folks. But at the same time, some people might be creatively stunted because of everything that is happening. And I think both of those things can be true, and I think both of them are okay. But I think for me, I have been able to recenter myself and get back into what grounds me in the state of emergency that is happening, and that has been my poetry. And that poem, my poem was written a year ago when I was in service in South Africa, in my village, and as it's on time. I think it's a timeless message as far as the plight of Black women in general. So yeah, I don't know if my colleagues agree, but it's kind of like quarantine can bring out the best and the worst creatively.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. In fact, that's a theme that we've been, that's a recurring theme that we've been experiencing just at Home Artist Project. We have these talks every other week, and frequently people say, I've been home, I've been able to crank out a lot, I've been really thinking about things. And also we get the answer of like, it's hard. We're feeling a little stagnant, a little squished, and both of those things are contributing to kind of the creative flow. So definitely understandable. Anyone else?
Personally, I've been a little bit scattered creatively, in the sense of I've been trying to read a lot, watch a lot, and then produce as well. So write stuff. Right now I'm trying to write more poetry, but initially at the early times of quarantine, I was writing plays. And if I'm not writing or doing something else, I start like drawing or trying to color something. So definitely my energies are everywhere. Hopefully at some point or very soon, I'll be more of a routine. Like I would decide, okay, I need to finish this project. I feel like I've been starting a lot of projects instead of just sticking to one and going forward with it. But I think that's so far is also keeping me sane. So I guess we are all doing our best.
Now I'm the one who's muted. That is I think that's all we can do right now sometimes, of course. Dazea, did you want to add anything about, I guess, when you wrote your poem or how it relates to quarantine right now?
I haven't really wrote much on quarantine. I think I've been kind of like venturing out into new things. So trying to like start new businesses and things like that, because I think if this taught me anything, it taught me that the economy can go to shambles very quickly. But the piece itself, I wrote back in November. And at that time, I was studying abroad in Greece, and I was working on my latest book, which is called Meraki. And it was just a free write, honestly. I would have take some time out, and I would pick pictures off of Instagram, and then I would let that inspire me to write something. So it's not really structured. It was more like let my mind and my heart kind of direct the piece itself.
And it's kind of nice when we've got that kind of like natural inspiration feeling coming to us. Maybe we're in a more peaceful place and things flow a little bit more easily. And it's kind of interesting to see what crops up just out of its own nature. And so I'm glad that you got that experience and got to share it here with us today. I would like to throw some questions to the graphic designers. We have someone who's asking, how long was everyone's process? We did talk about poems and when those were written, and then they also ask, and then the art that follows. So I think everyone exchanged poems, let's see, today's Thursday, at the beginning of last week, if I'm correct. So everyone had about a week and a half to create these pieces based on the poems. And I'd love to ask our graphic designers, what was it like working under that, I guess, that kind of time constraint? We kind of squished you in there. Maybe did that help your process, hinder it? What was it like, I guess, to design on a poem, maybe as opposed to other things that you've designed around before? Anyone free to answer?
Well, so I'm actually used to working with a pretty intense crunch time. So that wasn't that was actually a leisurely pace for me compared to what I'm used to. But what was to answer the question about what the process was like, because I had this time, I really wanted to take the opportunity to do small portions of the piece and then step away, wait a day, come back with fresh eyes, and push it a little further, step away, come back, which is usually not something I have the opportunity to do when I'm working on commercial work. So it was really nice to be able to do that because because I've been doing more commercial work lately than personal work. And actually, as a quick side note, I wanted to speak to the creativity during this period as well. I personally, as soon as quarantine hit, lost all desire to illustrate, which was new to me because I'm an illustrator. That's just what I've done my entire life. It's how I express myself. And so I wasn't working on personal work for a very long time, just client work. But I realized recently that I'd been exploring new creative avenues and didn't think about them as being creative. I've been learning how to 3D model. I've been working on sculpture, all sorts of things that aren't illustration or digital painting in the way that I've become so accustomed to. And so I think it's interesting that while feeling as though I didn't have this creative drive, I didn't even realize that I was being creative in other ways because I've been so focused for such a long time in one area. So I'm really grateful that quarantine has given me the opportunity to take that time to expand my focus a little bit. So thank you.
Nice. I'm glad that this has been kind of a creatively lucrative time for you, and that you've been able to kind of feel out different things and explore a little bit more. It's weird being, inside all day with not a lot to do, but also it's a weird luxury of time that we also never get. And so, two ways to look at that. I'm glad you got to use yours. Anyone else?
I felt very similarly to Ivan. I do a lot of work in theater. So I'm used to tight deadlines, and that's, I think, when I do my best work. And in a really positive way, it kind of forced me not to overwork the piece. there's always that fear of like, when did you go too far and you kind of missed the mark of what is actually most evocative. And so it kind of forced me to really efficiently cut down to what I wanted things to look like and to develop a really clear image while working. And I went through a similar period as well of when the quarantine started, all theatrical jobs were canceled. And all I had to do was sit at home and do my graduate school classes online, which was the worst. And so I just didn't create for months. I just didn't make things. And so in the past few months, that's kind of picked back up again. And I've been more creatively inspired. And so having the opportunity to participate in this and to create work based on Shelby's words, which are so powerful and have such strong imagery, it was really delightful. And it means that a small deadline, a short deadline, it doesn't make it a bad thing. It's fun.
Good. I'm so glad to hear that. And I know it has been difficult to find work and to, you know, kind of let that work drive the creativity that sometimes is necessary to do that work. It's kind of a, you know, it's one of those things that, okay, I have to do this. So, you know, this deadline's coming up. But, you know, even in spite of that, I think it's nice that we have given ourselves a little bit of time, and that every once in a while we have something like this where we're like, okay, we're going to get something done. And it's nice to feel like, oh, I have something to do, which is not something you hear yourself saying often, but I'm glad we got to do that here. Catherine, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Not really. I had really similar experiences to Ivan and Janice.
Okay, super. Well, thank you. Thank you all so much. I think we've got maybe time for maybe one more question. Someone asked, how was it working with designers of a different medium? And do you think that this will affect the way you go about your work, whether poetry or design, going forward after having worked with someone who does something so differently from you?
Is this poem, or is this question for everyone, or is it intended for like,
apologies, I could have been more clear about that. We'll open up this one to the room. You all were participants here. You all do very different things, but we're able to connect on very similar levels, I think, as we've seen here tonight. So if anyone has anything to add to that topic about maybe how this has impacted maybe the way you think about things going forward.
Yeah, I mean, in the poetry world, it is common to see a visual artist paired with a poet, and they do it in real time, like they create in real time as the poet is performing. And I just never had that experience for myself, but for this to be my first time to see the creation and just to see how aligned it was and how I just felt like Janice understood and she got it. And I think that just speaks volume to what art is. Art does not exist in a vacuum. It doesn't have to be linear. It can be so many things. And I think that once we open ourselves up to different interpretations, different mediums, different ways of expression, I think that is the beauty of what we consider art. Art is infinite. So I hope to move forward with, tapping more into my other creative talents. I am a writer, but I do like to sketch, and not to say that I'm good at it, but I do like to do it. So I'm inspired to just kind of like go outside of the box as well. But I really in awe of everyone's interpretations and how it was able to translate in all these different ways.
Nice. Thank you so much. It's true. I think everyone here has mentioned like, oh, I also dabble in this, or I've been trying this out during quarantine. So it's nice to see that this is affecting everyone and that we're all kind of getting to feel out other places where our creativities can go. Anyone else? We have had a pretty fruitful discussion so far, I think. We've covered a lot. So if we'd like to wrap it up for tonight, we can absolutely do that. I just wanted to say that I am so glad that I got to be here moderating tonight and witnessing all of this going on, seeing all of the artwork and hearing these very powerful words, very timely words, some of which were written, even up to years ago. Also seeing like how quarantine has affected the writing that's going on now, seeing how like this events in society are affecting what's going on now, and also how these poems are still relevant to things that are going on now. One of my big beliefs is that good art stands the test of time, and I think everyone has really I think you've proved me right in that theory here tonight. I think a lot of like the visuals we've seen and a lot of the stories we've heard, linear or not, are still very relevant and poignant today. And how beautiful was it to see those two things come together, two very different things come together on such a similar and heartfelt plane. So thank you all so much. This has been a real honor. It's been awesome to hear from so many different voices and see so many different forms of artwork and creativities. Thank you all so much. I'll go ahead and take us out for this evening's performance. Thank you to everyone watching for watching our program tonight here at Home Artist Project. We're so glad you did. Please don't forget, if you would like to support these artists as well as the August Wilson African American Cultural Center, please use the buttons below, the Eventbrite and PayPal buttons, or the support page on our website to donate to those causes. We greatly appreciate it. We can be found on all social channels, so please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe on those. And finally, we at AHAP are always looking to expand our network. We're here to support artists and to find artists of different mediums. So please, if you're a dancer, playwright, fine artist, actor, poet, director, anything, or you've just got some ideas, please contact us. All of our information is on our website. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you all again so much for being here. It was great hearing from our poets and seeing from our designers, and we look forward to seeing you all at our next project. Thank you, everyone.